friends, Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and Brill and I are here today to talk to you about a book that we just recently read that's fairly new, by an author that I'm sure you have heard of. Even if you haven't read anything by her, I guarantee you if you're familiar with books in general, you will have heard of her. So the book I'm talking about is The Final Target by Nora Roberts. See, you're probably like, oh yeah, Nora Roberts, I know about her. You may have read her books in the past. She has been writing for years and years and years. This is one of her newer books. And the reason I wanted to read it is because I used to be a huge Nora Roberts fan. So believe it or not, which might be hard to believe, but believe it or not, I didn't always love reading romance books. I know, it sounds crazy now because I devour them a lot now. But back in the day, I just couldn't get into them. I couldn't get into stories that were just pure romance. So Nora Roberts was who I read because her books are usually, they contain a love story, but they also are usually revolved around some kind of mystery or thriller aspect too. There's either a serial killer or a stalker or something going on that is it pretty much taking up most of the plot, but there is also romance too. And that's what I really, really loved about her books, because it wasn't just the romance, it was a lot of stuff all at once. So fast forward to now, it's been years since I've read Nora Roberts, right? She's still been writing in the meantime. She has, if you look in the beginning of this book, okay, also by Nora Roberts, right? She also does the J.D. Robb series, writes as J.D. Robb, right? These are her series of books. Oh, we're still going. Here's the J.D. Robb stuff. Here's the other stuff. There's a ton of books that this woman has written, okay? She's written a lot of duologies and trilogies and stuff like that, but she's written a lot of good standalones too. So I wanted to try this book because I wanted to know to myself, I wanted to find out, is Nora Roberts, is she still good? Like, I loved her work back in the day, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to continue to love somebody's work, right? Sometimes books that we read, authors that we read in different parts of our lives mean different things, right? So I was very, very curious. Like, I always very much enjoyed her work. And I thought, let's give it a shot. So what is this book about? Another reason why I wanted to read this one is because it's about an author. And y'all know I am such a sucker for a good book about books or authors, bookstores, libraries. I'm in if it's about any of those things. So this book starts off with this woman named Arden who is working in a bookstore, and she has just published her first book. She is doing a book signing at the store that she works at, and she meets this fan, right? A new fan of her work. Comes off a little bit strong, heavy-handed, but, you know, she's happy for the attention to her book. But then, as she keeps doing some events and she keeps writing more, he starts popping up all over the place in a sort of creepy kind of way. And she starts to be uncomfortable because he's starting to get very pushy, and he's starting to get very, like, wanting to pursue her, even though she's very nice to him, but she's also very firm and polite and like, you know, look, I'm not interested in this. So he takes it too far. There is an incident, a violent incident, and Arden, he gets put away in jail, and Arden is obviously very traumatized by this. So her parents died when she was little. She grew up with her aunt and uncle. She's very close with them, very close with her cousins. So as a couple years go by, she decides she is going to move out, because this is on the East Coast. She moves out to, I want to say it's Oregon. It's one of those out there states. She moves to Oregon. I'm fairly sure it's Oregon, and starts a new life there. Meanwhile, we're also getting the points of view from the stalker, who is in jail, but is now pretending to be rehabilitated so that they let him out sooner. And, you know, he does get out eventually. And of course, he has not changed his mind. He is still in his head believing that him and Arden need to be together. And he starts to try to find her. So this is a story about, on the surface, yeah, you could say, yeah, it's a thriller. It's about this crazy stalker guy who is pursuing this woman and how she has to thwart him, right? But it's not just about that. It's about her journey. It's about her journey as a young writer who has something traumatic happen to her and how she rebuilds her life from there. I think anyone that's gone through a very traumatic event, particularly where violence is involved, can read this and feel very seen. Because one thing that Nora Roberts is very good at is she is very detailed in her writing. So this book is over 400 pages, okay? And it's very descriptive of her starting her life over, moving out west, the people she meets, the love interest she may have, right? Because of course, yeah, there is a love interest in here too. But this story, I wouldn't categorize this as like a thriller or a romance. It's like everything, right? It's basically about this woman's life and how she picks up the pieces after something really truly horrible happens to her and remakes herself, and the struggles she comes up against and the triumphs and everything in between. And when I go back to the dedication of this book, Nora Roberts dedicates it to women. We're stronger than we look. And I feel like that's actually a really good description of what this book is about, because it's really about Arden and her journey. And I loved it. So yeah, to answer my own question, is Nora Roberts still good? Heck yeah, she is. I was just as engaged in this book as I have ever been with her writing in the past. I absolutely loved it. I thought the storytelling was fantastic. I thought the thriller aspects of it, like I was at the edge of my seat, especially towards the end when things got really, really intense. But I really loved the characters. I loved Arden. I loved her journey. I loved watching her come back and build herself up after this horrible thing happened to her. And I really enjoyed it. Is it like book of the year? Is it going to win an award? No, it's not that kind of book. But it was very enjoyable. I think she still got it. Unlike some writers who just write just to write, you know what I mean? And you can tell that they're not really, their hearts aren't in it anymore. You know, when you're reading this and any Nora Roberts book, that she cares about what she does because she cares about the characters, and you can really tell that through her writing. So yes, if you have somehow not ever read a Nora Roberts book and something like this sounds interesting to you, give her a shot. This is a standalone, so it's a great one to start with. It's one of her newer books. But if you have read her works in the past and you're wondering if she's still a great writer, yeah, she's still pretty awesome. And this book was pretty awesome too. The Final Target. Well, that's what I've got for you guys today. If this book sounds interesting, or if maybe you want to give other books by her a try, please check them out from Farmington Community Library. We've got pretty much all her stuff there. And thank you very much for watching, my friends. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.